There's a lot of content out there that looks good, and there's a lot of content out there that feels aligned, and then there's a lot of content that just doesn't convert. This is the Algorithm Isn't Enough podcast, a show where we talk about what actually drives visibility, trust, and growth in the age of AI. I'm Jade, the founder of VoiceScale, and today I'm joined by the incredibly talented Danielle Lowy, a marketing expert who's worked with over 100 clients and built a reputation for cutting through the noise when it comes to strategy and sales psychology. Her perspective is very simple. If it's not driving results, it's not working. So today we're going to get into why so much content isn't converting and what actually does. So thank you for being with me here today, Danielle.
Thank you so much for the lovely intro. I'm really excited to chat today.
Perfect. Okay, so jumping in, your tagline is that people hire you when they're done with energetics. What are people getting wrong when they rely on that instead of real strategy?
Yeah. So I think energetics is an incredibly important strategy, and there's a lot to say about conviction and having the clarity about who you are and your identity and showing up and having that motivation. But there's also a lot of people who I find are my clients that come in and work with me who already believe in themselves. Like they already have the conviction, they already have done all this work around who they are, they've healed all their money wounds, they've done all this stuff, and then they show up in marketing. And if you don't have the strategy that goes along with that, it will come off as very motivational, it'll probably come off as very inspiring, but there's a different types of marketing strategies you have to bring in to get someone to find you, feel called enough to be like, holy cow, this person is literally speaking my language, I want to buy from them. And if you don't partner that strategy with the energetics, a lot of times people feel really frustrated, and a lot of times they end up personalizing on themselves, where they're like, I've done this work, I've done all these things, and a lot of times people don't even know that this strategy is out there, right? If you've only worked with people who are very much in energetics, it's like, well, this is what it is. And a lot of times I've worked with clients in the past who are like, I just feel like I need to heal something else. If the money isn't coming in, like it must be a visibility wound. It must be this inner child thing that I didn't heal back when I was 7. And it's like sometimes you just have a skill set gap. And that's what I really come in and I supplement with the energetics work, is how do you take this conviction, this identity that you built, and this incredible human that you are, that you've gone through the hard stuff, and now you want to come online, you want to talk about it. How do we actually strategically package that in a way where your audience is going to see it, feel really, really seen what you're doing, and you're basically connecting the dots for them on why your work is a logical solution for them.
I love that. And I love that you do bring in the energetics of it all, because I think that is a missing piece for when people are starting and they're looking to grow brands and visibility and they're just putting out run of the mill content. But I think what you're speaking about is bringing things back to who you are inside and utilizing that to push content out, I think is incredible. And
Yeah.
so obviously that's not typical marketing advice that's out there, but do you think a lot of the marketing advice out there is actually kind of wrong in the wrong lens?
I don't think it's necessarily wrong intent. I think that a lot of people grow their own business, and I think they grow using social media strategies. And then what they do is they go and be like, oh, I grew my own social media following, or I grew my own, business. And then they turn around and they try to teach other people. And that ability to teach other people is a skill set in itself, right? Because when you are learning, there's a difference between social media strategy, where it's like, okay, cool, this is how you do your captions, and this is how you get attention, this is how you do the reels, versus like real sales psychology and the ability to influence someone, which can apply across any type of channel. And so a lot of times you might find someone who, again, like it's not ill intent, it's just like, I grew this business and I'm going to turn around and teach you what worked for me. And what worked for me is going to be very, very different than what's going to work for you, because there's so much nuance in what your audience takes into consideration when buying, like what moves them versus me, like versus you, or what industry you're in, or just how you have to do things differently based on your audience, your brand, your tone, what you're trying to sell. And I think a lot of times people just turn around and say like, copy my strategy, and it's not going to work. And then when it doesn't work, again, it's very personalized to you. We're like, it must be me, it must be something wrong with me, because obviously this strategy works for other people, but it's not working for me. So there's so much that goes into marketing strategy, even just the way you express yourself. If you have a personal brand, if you're someone who is trying to copy someone else's tone and how they influence people, it's going to come off as really repellent, and it's not going to work for you. So there's a lot that has to go into the actual personalization of a marketing strategy that I think some people don't realize, or maybe don't have the background to be able to teach someone else that, or maybe they just did it themselves and they're trying to share what they did in their journey.
That makes sense. And so would you think that personalization is the real difference between content that gets attention versus content that actually drives sales?
I would say personalization in the sense of knowing your specific audience and what would motivate them to buy. Like in your audience, are they more logical? Are they more emotional? Do they respond to this versus this? Like what are the certain things psychologically that drive them? There's so many different nuances. Like if someone is driven by, status versus someone is driven by power versus someone, like there's just so many different things. If you're working with, corporate executives, they may have a little bit more of an ego to them. So you have to change your language and how you're marketing to them versus someone else who's more of a personal brand. Like there's just so much nuance that happens, and when you become really good at marketing, it's the ability to take your own data and to leverage your own data and to understand what your audience responds to, then adapt as a result instead of doing some kind of like blanket strategy.
It makes sense. And so if you were to be looking at a brand or a creator or a founder, and you're looking and you're saying, okay, whatever you're doing is not working, it's not converting. What are those first things that you look for and you look to change or tweak?
Yeah. So what I always look for first is, most of the time, if something isn't working, it's because of a lack of positioning strategy. And this is what I call your point of difference. Because the way that you are influencing someone to buy from you, it's based on the foundations of your positioning. So there's three things that really go into that. It's, what is the main problem that you solve? How do you solve that problem differently versus everyone else in your industry? And what's the specific lens you have to get your audience to view about that problem to position your work as a logical solution? So I usually start with positioning, and one of those three questions is probably broken. For example, a lot of people think that they have a really clear understanding of the problem that they solve, and a lot of people don't. Most of my clients who come in, you can be in the industry for a decade and you still don't know the answer to this, and I'll give you an example of this where, like for me, I generate more sales for you. That's not a problem. That's an outcome. A lot of people come into my world. I'm like, what's the problem you solve? Well, I generate more sales. I help you regulate your nervous system. I help you have more confidence. I help you find your purpose. But those aren't actually problems. Those are outcomes. And so what's the problem that you solve? And so a lot of people develop their marketing strategy from the outcome that they solve or what they think they have to say to get their audience to buy. And they're not centering it around their audience and the problem that they're experiencing. And so to follow up on that example, the problem that I solve for my clients is I sell an inner transformation offer that is really easy to see the value in person. So something like healing or energy work or identity work or nervous system regulation, when you're in person, it's really easy to see the value of it, but I have a hard time translating that value over onto social media. That's a problem as to why I haven't gotten the result yet. So all my marketing centers around that problem. So the number one gap I almost always see when I'm auditing a business is, what is the problem that you're solving, and have you centered your marketing around that? And then from there, it's really like, okay, because your entire marketing and sales strategy is based around that. So now when we understand that, it's like, okay, cool. So then what's your unique methodology for solving that problem? Because that is the thing that you're using in your marketing and sales strategy to get your audience to view their problem the way that you view their problem. Okay, you have this problem. I'm going to convince you, and a lot of people don't like that word, but that is marketing. It's convincing, it's influencing. Yeah. To see the way that I solve problems is going to be the right way for you. And that's your marketing strategy. And a lot of people don't realize that, or I think a lot of people think marketing it's almost this like proving energy, I guess. Especially I work with a lot of personal brands. And it's very much like I have to convince you to see my value, and I have to convince you to like work with me, and then I'm so valuable. And it's not actually that. The role of marketing is it's very neutral. It's very much like, this is the problem I solve, this is how I do it and why. And if I can get you on board with that, then you're going to hire me every time. So I would say that was a long answer to your question, but it's like, a lot of times it's positioning, and if that is not working, it's like, okay, so we know we have a solid foundation of your positioning. So where is the gap happening? Like, are you even attracting the right people, right? We have to look at the entire customer journey. Are you attracting the right people? Are the people that you're bringing in actually qualified? You might be attracting a bunch of people, but they're not qualified. Okay, cool. So maybe the process is breaking there. Or are you able to bring people into your world, but they're not coming over the finish line? Well, maybe that's a sales gap, and the actual sales conversation, there's a gap there, and there's a gap in skill set. Or maybe your marketing isn't working hard enough to show people the value of what you do. So by the time they come into the sales process, the value isn't there. So that's where it's dropping off. So it's kind of just auditing the entire customer journey to understand like where the drop off is happening, based on what the data is showing and what their audience data is showing. But a lot of times it does start at the positioning, I find.
I love that. And I love that you're saying that it starts at the positioning, because I feel like a lot of companies and brands, and personal brands specifically, they're using just AI to output, like, here's what I should be saying, here's what my marketing should look like, right? So with AI making content easier to produce, are we seeing better marketing or just more bad marketing faster?
The latter, I would say, because your output is only as good as your input. So it's like AI will absolutely help with distribution and the amount of volume that you can output. But if you're plugging into it with a shitty prompt and you don't actually know your strategy, like it's just going to output the same stuff. So I think that, and that's why I think AI, I know with the rise of AI, like a lot of marketers and strategists are like, is this going to replace me? Is this going to go away? But that's the thing is like the strategy has to go into the machine to allow it to output. And that strategy is what you need to understand. And you need to understand that for your specific brand, your specific audience, and what you are trying to accomplish.
Love that. And even taking it further down a little notch, right? So if a company could scale their strategic content across their team, what do you think that would mean for like meaningfully impactful revenue generation?
Yeah. And what do you mean by that? Scale it across their team.
So right now we have a lot of founders and then company
Mhm.
pages, right? But do we see enough founders actually utilizing their team as another almost
Mm.
content generating stream?
Oh, I see. Like behind the scenes content of showing what
Yeah.
it's like. Yeah. I honestly think that has been a huge trend that I've seen. I think a lot of companies are actually adopting this and brands are adopting this where they are showing the behind the scenes because when you have the personal branding and the humanity is such a large aspect of today, especially in AI. And so when you have a brand, it's like, well, and how do I bring in that humanization of the brand? How do I do this when I'm not a personal brand? And I think a lot of that is it's showing the behind the scenes. It's showing what is the vibe like in the office. I know what's her name, Alex Cooper does this a lot with her Unwell brand. Like she's always bringing people behind the scenes. This is what the office looks like, this is what meetings look like. So it really helps feel like you have this more emotional connection to the brand. And yeah, so I would say absolutely I've seen that happen over the past few years of bringing people behind the scenes and really bringing that transparency into how brands are operating, even if they're bigger brands.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have two fast track questions to close this out. What's something you see online that gets praised, but you know isn't actually driving results?
Hmm. I would say the biggest trend that I see right now, I don't probably gets praised or probably just gets prioritized. A lot of what I see is, especially with personal brands, there's a lot of, especially those who have gone through, because a lot of my clients I work with, they sell an inner transformation offer. So it's people who have gone through some kind of transformation, some kind of journey, and they go around and they teach that journey. I see a lot of like the trending audio, a lot of the inspirational, like you see someone talking about their life, or maybe even like an example, Shelby Sapp. Like she's really, really popular. And
Yeah.
she's getting on and she's talking about her life. She's showcasing her lifestyle and things like that. But here's the thing, so a lot of people are seeing this modeled by a lot of very successful businesses, and then they show up and they start acting like an influencer. And what I mean by that is like they're putting their self at the center of their marketing and they're going, this is what I believe, these are my opinions, this is my story, this is my journey, look at my life, all this stuff, when you actually haven't earned the right to do that yet. Because what you don't know about Shelby Sapp is, yes, she has earned the right to do this now, but there were months and months and months, years even, where she was showing up in her car talking about sales tips and trainings because she was putting her audience at the center of her marketing. And she was going, what do they need to know? And eventually she got big enough where now she can talk about herself. So I think a mistake a lot of personal brands make is they show up as an influencer and they put themselves at the center of their marketing because that's just what they're role model to do. And then they're not getting the sales that they want. And they're like, why is this happening? And it's because they just haven't earned the right to be at that place yet. And they haven't understood their audience and they haven't really become almost like a specialist in something and really showing up every day of like, what does my audience need to hear? How can I serve them? And maybe eventually you'll get to a place where you can be that influencer. But I think a lot of people jump over that stage and they don't realize it because they're just being role modeled that behavior.
100%. That's one of the tools that I use a lot with my personal branding clients is the story brand arc, right? Where you're
Yeah, yeah,
positioning your potential client as the actual hero and you're just the guide. And that ties
yeah.
into exactly what you're saying. You can't jump in wanting to be the hero. You should be the guide and your client should be that hero figure.
100%. That's
I love
Donald Miller, I think. I love him.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
hmm
But I love Shelby Sapp too. I think she's awesome.
She's just a
Uh,
savage. We love her.
okay, last fast track question.
Yeah.
What's one thing brands should stop doing immediately if they want to start converting?
Ooh, stop doing immediately. Hmm. I think that okay, the first thing that came to my brain, it's kind of in the same way of the influencer content is what you should stop doing immediately is relying on inspiration for your marketing strategy and relying on like I know a lot, again, this is very much tailored to a lot of my clients, but they show up and it's like, well, what do I want to post today, or what is my inspiration, what did I think about in the shower today, or what did I, and not having an actual marketing strategy, again, based on your audience, that's telling you every single day what to post. If a client comes into my world and they're like, I don't really know what to post on a week-to-week basis, I'm like, that's a big gap. Like, that's a big gap. And that's honestly, a lot of people have resistance to marketing because it is very heavy, but they're like co-creating it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy where, yeah, it feels heavy when you have to every day show up and be like, what do I have to post today? Or like, what do I have to create? Or it relies on your energy. Like, there are the days when I feel really creative and I want to create based on my brain and what's going on, but that's like 10 to 20% of my content. The rest doesn't require a lot of energetic lift. So there's not this resistance to marketing, and therefore I can output a lot quicker and a lot better, and I don't have this like fight against it because 80%, 90% of my strategy is based on my audience and my data and what I know I need to be posting to basically reinforce my positioning and get my audience to agree with me. And so I guess, yeah, I would say stop posting based on your own, what you think you need to post or your brain, and outsource it to your marketing strategy based on your positioning.
Love that. Danielle, thank you so much for joining today. This was extremely insightful. Tell everyone how they can find you, reach out to you, work with you, etc.
Yeah, of course. So you can find me over on Instagram at Danielle Marie Lowy. I do two programs. I have close consulting working with me. I also have an accelerator program, which basically breaks down all of my methodologies, all of my strategies inside a program that really helps you get to a place where, number one, you're really, really solid on your point of difference. You know how to leverage that in your marketing to really create like massive demand for what you do. And you're able to really get to a place where you're building predictable and consistent sales from social media, and it doesn't require you to always have to be in person or always have to rely on referrals. Like, you can understand predictably how to create leads and sales in your business based on your point of difference.
Hit her up, reach out, get on her docket. She's incredible. And if there's one takeaway from this conversation, it's that visibility without strategy does not lead to results. And that's where a lot of brands get stuck. So if you got value from this, share it with someone building a brand, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.